The early morning sun spilled gold across Windsor Great Park, illuminating the sprawling estate of Forest Lodge, its manicured lawns and ancient woodland casting long shadows across the quiet paths. To the casual observer, it appeared serene, timeless, a slice of royal history preserved. Yet inside the palace network, the transfer of this property was anything but ordinary. On the 16th of February, 2026, Buckingham Palace confirmed what insiders had long speculated. King Charles III had formally granted Forest Lodge to Prince William and Princess Catherine, along with their children, in what aides described as a forward-facing strategic gesture. The announcement, understated yet momentous, sent ripples through royal circles, media outlets, and constitutional analysts alike. Before we begin today's royal update, I want to take a quick moment. Many of you watch these videos but haven't subscribed yet, and you don't want to miss the latest developments and fascinating stories from the world of royalty. Subscribing is completely free and keeps you up to date as everything unfolds. And while you're here, let us know where are you watching from. Share it in the comments. It's wonderful to see viewers joining us from around the world. Forest Lodge was no ordinary residence. Nestled close to Adelaide Cottage and the children's school, Lambuk, it offered privacy and operational discretion. Once a gift to the Duke of Gloucester in the 1970s, it had become part of Queen Elizabeth II's inner sanctum, a place for reflection, confidential strategy, and quiet transition. Now, with keys passed to William and Catherine, it assumed a new purpose, a headquarters for the future monarchs. Palace aides emphasized that Charles's intent was not ceremonial showmanship, but practical consolidation of responsibilities, giving the Wales family the logistical base needed to manage engagements, charitable operations, and preparatory sovereign duties. The symbolism, however, was unmistakable. Forest Lodge had shifted from a retreat for the old guard to the operational and symbolic heart of the next generation. The reaction inside the palace was complex. Queen Camilla reportedly had expected to retain influence over Forest Lodge, envisioning it as a venue for literary salons, intimate gatherings, and heritage events. The handover blindsided her, and according to anonymous sources, her request to schedule a spring function was quietly declined days before the announcement. Meanwhile, Lord Gerald Marchmont, a distant relative of the Queen Consort, expressed concern at a private dinner hosted by the Royal Windsor Society, remarking, "Forest Lodge is a quiet emblem of royal favor. Its transfer mid-reign without ceremonial explanation risks casting shadows where there should only be lineage." Some dismissed this as nostalgic exaggeration, yet it underscored the tension between tradition and forward-facing modernization. Supporters of the handover framed it differently. Lady Eleanor Street James, a noted royal biographer and confidant of the late Queen Elizabeth II, wrote in the Times, "This is continuity in action. Forest Lodge under William and Catherine becomes a home of legacy, modern, family-centered, aligned with the quiet grace Her Majesty cherished." The timing, she noted, coincided with Catherine's return to the public sphere following her battle with cancer, a symbolic alignment orchestrated by Charles himself. Within hours of the palace confirmation, the news broke across BBC, Daily Mail, and global outlets. Public reaction leaned overwhelmingly positive. Catherine's approval ratings surged, and William's image as heir and family patriarch gained momentum. Social media buzzed with praise, emphasizing the subtle elegance of this quiet yet monumental transfer. Inside Forest Lodge, preparations had begun even before the announcement. Staff worked to repurpose rooms for both private family life and operational functions. Charles, sources confirmed, had insisted on blending familial intimacy with logistical efficiency. Offices for charitable operations, discreet security measures, and rooms for confidential briefings. The estate's history was visible everywhere. Antique furniture, paintings commissioned during Elizabeth II's reign, and landscaped gardens designed with Prince Philip's input. It was, in essence, a bridge between past and future, symbolizing continuity, stability, and the transfer of influence. Yet, for Camilla, the absence of formal consultation deepened a sense of exclusion, illustrating the subtle shifts in royal power dynamics. As the Wales family moved in, William and Catherine maintained a carefully understated profile. No press calls, no social media posts, only the quiet movement of a monarchy recalibrating itself. Within days, photographs surfaced of George and Charlotte exploring the library and gardens, their curiosity and poise noted by royal watchers as emblematic of a future generation poised to assume responsibility. Catherine, in her first public appearances linked to Forest Lodge, wore Princess Diana's aquamarine ring, a gesture interpreted as a tribute to legacy and the continuity of family-centered values. Palace aides whispered that Charles's decision was as much about symbolism as practicality. The estate would serve as a whisper of authority, not an announcement, quietly cementing the Wales family's centrality in the monarchy. Yet tension lingered beneath the calm. Camilla's absence from senior private councils, her delayed engagement schedule, and subtle palace murmurs suggested resistance simmering within the inner circle. Even traditionalists who had supported Charles's vision acknowledged unease. Forest Lodge was a statement, a quiet coronation, a reshaping of influence without ceremony. Observers noted that while Charles had ceded the property, he retained oversight of broader succession matters, aligning operational power with symbolic authority. The move was both strategic and inevitable, a recalibration of the monarchy's internal architecture. As night fell over Windsor Great Park, the estate stood tranquil, yet the ripple of its transfer stretched far beyond its walls. Power had shifted, quietly but unmistakably, and the monarchy had spoken. The future resided firmly with the Wales household. While the Wales family quietly assumed control of Forest Lodge, across the Atlantic, a storm of a different nature was brewing. On the morning of the 2nd of February, 2026, the Santa Barbara Superior Court became the center of international scrutiny. Reporters swarmed the polished glass facade as Meghan Markle's legal team entered, clutching a thick red folder marked Addendum, Lifestyle Clauses. The document, previously undisclosed, contained stipulations so extravagant they stunned even seasoned royal correspondents. Among them, guaranteed access to a 24/7 chartered helicopter for domestic travel, exclusive use of superyachts no smaller than 90 meters for personal and philanthropic voyages, and presidential-level accommodations during all international engagements. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. One journalist whispered, "Did she just try to trademark her own life?" The courtroom buzzed with disbelief as Princess Anne, appearing via pre-recorded statement under royal privilege, responded with unflinching clarity. "This family does not negotiate dignity for leather seats and champagne baths. Marriage is not a service contract, and children are not bargaining chips for preferential luggage tags." Silence fell over the room. Meghan, seated beside her attorneys, showed no visible emotion. Her lead counsel objected, claiming the clause reflected celebrity-class expectations, not royal exploitation, but the impact was undeniable. Outside, reporters scrambled to file leads, and within 20 minutes, global headlines went live. Social media erupted. Hashtags shifted from Meghan deserved better to royally exposed. By evening, Dr. Jordan Peterson, broadcasting from Toronto, delivered a calculated critique on national television. Calmly, he held up a dossier containing yacht manifests, staff emails, and photographs matching specific luxury accommodations to Archewell's previous philanthropic activities. "Before the palace, before the titles," Peterson asserted. She was sailing on Gulf-linked yachts, wearing $12,000 dresses, and associating with billionaires now criticized in her narrative. "This isn't oppression, it's curation, and now the curation is collapsing." Within hours, clips went viral. Feminist groups distanced themselves, influencer accounts once idolizing Meghan deleted posts, and online discussions erupted over her public versus private persona. Prince Harry remained conspicuously silent. Paparazzi captured him packing the gardens of Montecito, clutching a torn envelope. Sources suggested he had not been informed of Clause 14C's details until the filing became public. The silence spoke volumes. The legal strategy had shifted from partnership to image preservation, leaving Harry caught between loyalty and consequence. Meanwhile, back in the UK, King Charles convened a two-member committee led by Prince Edward and Princess Anne to evaluate the long-term implications for Archie and Lilibet. Security funding, guardianship considerations, and potential reintegration under sovereign tutelage were all meticulously assessed. This was no longer a private divorce. It was a calculated institutional response to an image war spanning 5 years. The courtroom drama escalated as the clerk read the terms aloud. Journalists' notebooks filled with phrases that seemed surreal. Presidential suites worldwide, superyacht access, chartered aircraft 24/7. The contrast was stark. The Wales household had gained Forest Lodge quietly, symbolizing measured responsibility, while Meghan's demands portrayed extravagance under the guise of entitlement. Princess Anne's recorded rebuttal emphasized continuity over spectacle, asserting that marital obligations do not extend to luxury provisions. Legal experts later described the court proceedings as unprecedented in scale and symbolism. Public perception tilted sharply in favor of the monarchy, highlighting the contrast between disciplined stewardship and personal aggrandizement. By late evening, the media storm reached its peak. Archewell's website was archived, contracts were frozen, and a February 20th media gala intended to relaunch Meghan's brand was abruptly canceled due to reputational risk. Leaked emergency calls revealed Meghan's frustration, shouting at her PR team, "I built an empire," only to be met with the cold reply, "They just erased it." Across the Atlantic, Harry remained in private consultation with advisors, reportedly drafting a 6-page letter to King Charles delivered via royal courier. The contents remained undisclosed, but the palace's lack of response indicated the family's unwillingness to negotiate under duress. In the UK, Princess Catherine's subtle interventions reinforced the monarchy's image of composed authority. At a youth mental health center in Nottingham, she addressed a nervous child's question about royal happiness with measured grace. "Happiness comes when you serve the truth, not just yourself, and the truth always finds its way." The clip circulated widely, serving as a counterpoint to the chaos overseas. Analysts labeled it a masterclass in leadership, calm, dignified, and effective. The palace's cultural and operational response, later codified under Operation Palatine, reclaimed social and charitable initiatives previously associated with Archewell, absorbing the vacuum left by Meghan's legal overreach. By February 29, a leap day decree formalized the final severance. Signed by King Charles, the Privy Council, and senior royal advisors, all remaining rights, privileges, and associations between the Crown and Archewell were permanently dissolved. No member, former or otherwise, could act or imply affiliation with the monarchy. Financial, legal, or ceremonial resources were immediately withdrawn. The move was clinical, constitutional, and absolute. Public reception was overwhelmingly supportive. Crowds outside Kensington Palace applauded rather than protested. Union Jacks flew unstained in perception. Inside Forest Lodge, Charlotte asked Catherine the meaning of "erased," and the answer was soft but resolute. "It means some stories end without a crown." The message was clear. The monarchy had reasserted authority, discipline, and consequence. As news of Archewell's dissolution rippled across the globe, the public and media spheres became a theater of commentary, outrage, and reevaluation. The initial shockwave hit social media almost immediately. Hashtags such as "Brand Before Crown," "Royally Exposed," and "Archewell Collapse" trended worldwide, dominating feeds in London, Los Angeles, Toronto, and Sydney. Analysts noted the speed and intensity of the response. A single, strategic legal ruling had transformed private palace decisions into a viral spectacle of accountability. Commentators debated endlessly. Was Meghan's approach audacious entrepreneurship or reckless entitlement? Meanwhile, images of Catherine's calm, composed appearances during youth outreach programs, and Forest Lodge visits contrasted starkly with the media storm, creating a visual dichotomy between disciplined stewardship and perceived chaos. Mainstream news networks scrambled to cover the unfolding events. BBC Primetime devoted extended segments to the dissolution of Archewell, detailing the legal proceedings, Clause 14C's shocking contents, and the unprecedented intervention of Princess Anne. The public learned of chartered yachts, presidential-level accommodations, and helicopter demands tied to marital obligations. The contrast with the Wales family's measured acquisition of Forest Lodge could not have been starker. Commentators framed it as a lesson in responsibility and consequence. The Crown rewards stewardship and punishes spectacle. Royal historians noted that the timing of the decree, coinciding with William and Catherine's formal assumption of Forest Lodge, was deliberate, symbolically linking disciplined succession with strategic authority. Across opinion columns, cultural analysts dissected the consequences. One noted, "For years, the monarchy tolerated narrative-driven branding. Today, it reasserts control, defining boundaries between private ambition and institutional responsibility." Social media influencers, once quick to champion Meghan, began deleting posts or posting retractions. Feminist groups, initially supportive of her portrayal as a victim of royal constraint, publicly questioned her motives, emphasizing that leadership and accountability cannot be outsourced to celebrity branding. The discourse evolved rapidly from personal scandal to institutional commentary. It became clear that the monarchy's public image, carefully cultivated over decades, was being actively defended through both legal and cultural channels. The palace, for its part, orchestrated a multi-tiered response. Operation Palatine, previously activated, became central to narrative consolidation. Senior royal aides, led by Lady Louise and Duchess Sophie, implemented a strategic reallocation of philanthropic and cultural initiatives. Programs once associated with Archewell were absorbed into the Crown's existing framework, with clear messaging highlighting continuity, integrity, and responsibility. Forest Lodge itself became a symbol of stability, a private, operationally secure base reflecting the monarchy's ongoing modernization while preserving historical gravitas. The children of the Wales household, particularly Princess Charlotte, were intentionally highlighted in public appearances, embodying the seamless transmission of legacy alongside measured authority. Meanwhile, international media coverage amplified the stakes. In the United States, CNN and the New York Times ran detailed exposés on the yacht, helicopter, and luxury accommodation demands, framing them as emblematic of an entitlement culture disconnected from accountability. Legal analysts emphasized that Clause 14C's rejection was not merely procedural but symbolic. It reinforced the principle that personal luxury cannot dictate institutional legitimacy. Experts in constitutional and royal law highlighted the broader implications. The decree effectively severed not only financial and symbolic ties, but also preemptively defined succession boundaries and fiduciary expectations. Archewell's dissolution, they argued, was a warning to all who might attempt to exploit royal affiliation for private gain. Social commentary extended beyond legal and procedural analysis. The cultural narrative focused on contrasting personalities: Catherine's poised leadership versus Meghan's public agitation, William's measured authority versus Harry's quiet retreat. Analysts noted that the monarchy leveraged visual storytelling as effectively as legal strategy. Photographs of Catherine wearing Princess Diana's aquamarine ring, combined with the children's careful presentation at Forest Lodge, created a powerful, almost cinematic representation of continuity, grace, and moral authority. Social media engagement metrics skyrocketed, with millions of shares, comments, and reactions reinforcing the narrative of institutional stability triumphing over individual spectacle. Public sentiment in the UK, in particular, shifted decisively. Surveys indicated that support for the monarchy increased following the Archewell decree. Citizens cited a renewed sense of transparency, clarity, and ethical governance. Royal commentators framed the events as a turning point, a decisive moment when the monarchy reclaimed its narrative, reaffirmed intergenerational stewardship, and demonstrated that public responsibility outweighs private indulgence. Analysts predicted long-term implications, noting that William and Catherine's control of Forest Lodge, combined with the neutralization of Archewell, consolidated the Wales household as the operational and symbolic epicenter of future royal authority. By early March 2026, the combination of legal closure, media framing, and cultural narrative effectively neutralized Archewell's influence. While Meghan and Harry remained in seclusion, the monarchy had successfully reclaimed public perception. Catherine and William emerged as emblematic figures of disciplined succession, blending personal warmth, historical awareness, and institutional responsibility. Forest Lodge, now operationally active yet symbolically resonant, became the stage upon which the next generation of royal leadership would be trained, observed, and celebrated. The monarchy, observers agreed, had weathered one of its most turbulent periods in decades, and emerged not merely intact, but strengthened. By early March 2026, the royal landscape had shifted irrevocably. Forest Lodge now stood not merely as a residence, but as a symbol of calculated authority, operational privacy, and intergenerational continuity. The Wales household, empowered by King Charles' strategic foresight, assumed full operational control over the estate. William's calendar filled with meticulously planned engagements, balancing public appearances with strategic preparation for his eventual ascension, while Catherine oversaw the cultural, philanthropic, and family dimensions of the transition. Their coordinated approach sent a powerful message. The future monarchy would be disciplined, visible, yet judiciously private, a stark contrast to the turbulence surrounding Archewell's collapse. Global media continued to dissect the aftermath. Outlets from Tokyo to Toronto ran comparative analyses of royal protocols and celebrity entanglements, framing the Archewell episode as a cautionary tale. Commentators emphasized the monarchy's calculated use of symbolism, particularly Catherine's subtle visual messaging. The aquamarine ring, children positioned in ceremonial yet approachable stances, and strategic appearances at high-impact youth, health, and heritage events. Each gesture reinforced continuity while reclaiming the narrative from 5 years of public controversy. Analysts agreed. The monarchy had effectively transformed operational action into cultural storytelling, a feat few institutions could replicate at the same scale. Public sentiment solidified around the Wales family. Polling data revealed surges in trust and approval ratings, particularly for Catherine, whose composed leadership became emblematic of measured resilience. Focus groups noted that the handling of Forest Lodge and Archewell's dissolution communicated a broader principle. Accountability and legacy are inseparable from privilege. Royal historians highlighted the unprecedented nature of this consolidation. While previous transitions had relied on ceremonial pomp, titles, and inheritance alone, the 2026 events demonstrated a deliberate orchestration of legal authority, cultural influence, and media optics, a multi-dimensional approach to succession and image management unseen in modern monarchy. Across the Commonwealth, the ripple effects were tangible. Governments and charitable organizations adjusted protocols to align with the Wales household's new operational authority. Partnerships once associated with Archewell were formally absorbed into Crown-endorsed frameworks, ensuring consistency in oversight, reporting, and branding. Local communities near Windsor Great Park reported increased engagement, from educational programs to environmental initiatives, all coordinated through the Forest Lodge hub. The estate, once a quiet retreat, had become the operational nerve center for next-generation royal influence, seamlessly blending historical prestige with modern functional imperatives. Meanwhile, in the United States, the Archewell narrative evolved into a case study in legal, cultural, and media accountability. Former allies of the Sussexes publicly re-evaluated their positions. Philanthropic boards severed informal ties, and several celebrity spokespeople quietly distanced themselves from prior endorsements. The juxtaposition with the Wales household's methodical, disciplined approach to public engagement underscored a broader societal lesson. Institutions grounded in transparency, continuity, and moral clarity maintain resilience, while personality-driven enterprises are vulnerable to public, legal, and media scrutiny. Analysts in Los Angeles and New York described the episode as a blueprint for managing high-profile reputational crises. Back at Windsor, the palace ecosystem adjusted swiftly. Queen Camilla, largely absent from public proceedings, reportedly withdrew to Gloucestershire to reflect and write, effectively neutralizing any potential internal opposition. Senior aides noted her decreased influence over ceremonial and operational decisions, signaling the final consolidation of authority within the Wales household. Princess Anne continued to play a pivotal role, coordinating the integration of charitable, educational, and public relations initiatives, ensuring the Crown's legacy remained cohesive and unassailable. The operational chain of command, long fragmented during previous controversies, had now been unified under disciplined oversight. The symbolism of Forest Lodge could not be overstated. Every corridor, garden, and library hall resonated with centuries of royal heritage. Its historical significance, coupled with its operational utility, made it the perfect stage for the monarchy's next chapter. Prince George and Princess Charlotte, observed during guided tour of archival materials and ceremonial artifacts, were positioned as visible yet protected heirs, embodying the careful balance of legacy, education, and exposure. Public fascination with their poise, curiosity, and emerging gravitas contributed to a sense of narrative closure. The monarchy, through Forest Lodge, had demonstrated both continuity and renewal. As March drew to a close, the long-term consequences became apparent. Archewell, stripped of legal, financial, and symbolic affiliations, ceased to operate in any meaningful public capacity. Media narratives shifted from scandal to historical analysis. Legal scholars published detailed treatises on the unprecedented enforcement of Clause 14C's nullification. Cultural commentators examined Catherine's visual and public strategy as a masterclass in subtle yet authoritative leadership. The monarchy's message was unmistakable. Authority requires responsibility, legacy demands discipline, and public trust is not transferable by branding alone. In Westminster, historians and political analysts hailed February and March 2026 as a defining period in modern royal history. Forest Lodge, now fully operational under William and Catherine, became a living symbol of institutional recalibration. The monarchy had not merely survived scandal. It had actively reclaimed narrative control, realigned operational power, and fortified its global legitimacy. The Wales household, having mastered legal, cultural, and symbolic strategy, now stood at the center of a monarchy both adaptive and unyielding, poised to lead Britain into a new era while preserving the dignity, discipline, and historical resonance that had defined centuries of royal stewardship.